sobriety, and their recovery, therefore, is broadened, and this recovery in every sphere, recovery, don't tell anybody, but recovery is spirituality. It's another word that we like: sanctity and sanity and serenity and sobriety. Recovery is a word that doesn't begin with S. That means the same thing as all of those.
You've really pushed the understanding of that, of recovery itself,
I hope
way beyond simply the elimination of alcohol and drugs from an otherwise unchanged life.
Yeah, I hope so. But again, it's not original with me. This is AA.
Right.
I mean, this, having had a spiritual awakening, what does that mean? Right. It means there's been a fundamental change in one's being that, I now glow, at least sometimes, not always. But we are these fallible human beings, and sometimes as I talk about this, I feel, my God, I'm romanticized. Everybody's going to think I'm no. I love Ernest Becker's image and description of human nature. Man is a God who shits. On the one hand, we have this capacity for altruism and healing and benefit and spirituality, and on the other hand, we are periodically reminded of our ties to the earth. We are fallible beings who will die and rot someday. And there are days that are more rotten than others in this mixed being that we have, and recognizing that humility, recognize the mix, this sort of allows us to get through them. Mm-hmm. But it's not saying that they're not going to be there. So that, I think that's central, the recognition that recovery, this is why people tell me who your friends are, and I'll tell you what kind of person you are. I mean, this goes through the wisdom literature of the whole world. Besides going to AA meetings, I love reading wisdom literature. And whether it be the Greek dramatist or Shakespeare or Eastern literature, because they all say the same thing in such myriad rich ways.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking of your reference to gifts earlier. I was almost thinking for a moment of the spirituality of the counselor themselves. And I was thinking one of the gifts they have is to really sort of participate in this transformation process and actually watch people get better than well. That there are at least some people they will work with. They will have the gift of seeing people go far beyond simply the removal of this, horribly destructive disorder.
Yeah, they'll realize that the person has achieved something that they're not responsible for. See, I think this is where the counselor has to let go.
Right, and not take ownership of the recovery.
The counselor can tend to take, exactly. The counselor has to realize that they don't have ownership of the recovery. And the gift is being able to recognize that if something's taking place here that I ain't responsible for. And boy, it's good.
Yeah.
That ability to get outside the narrow bonds of self, which is our daily joy.
Right. And for the counselor to get outside the bonds of all the demands placed upon them, get beyond the demands of their theoretical models, that when they transcend those, there's this opportunity for genuineness as they reach out and connect with people they're working with.
If people like you could just free them from half the paperwork they have to do, that would be a good start, by the way. This idea, I think this. When counseling became professionalized, I recognized the needs and the benefits of it, but when I see some of these charismatic healing people laboring over putting something on paper instead of spending time with human beings, I sort of ache. I've known some of these counselors, and I've met them in diverse places, and why are you sitting in this office doing that? You should be with, and again, it's my little refusal of reality that I guess I allow, but it frustrates me, and I think that I would hope that supervisory staff would recognize that.
Is there a sense that with all the professionalization and the industrialization of treatment, that some dimensions may have got lost in that process? I mean and I'm almost talking about that capacity to free that person's time to do that work.
I know you know more about that to speak to whether, some things are lost, some things are gained over time. This is just inevitable with the process of time. I do think, though, that the multiplication of paperwork sometimes, again, these accrediting agencies that's getting tied into the mandates of insurance companies or third-party payers. And then, on one level it's necessary because that's how the system works. On the other hand, it actually is getting in the way of healing because people who could be healing are spending half their time filling out forms. Yeah. And I don't have an easy solution to it. It's easy to jump on the insurance industry or this or that. Clearly, to prevent abuses, some of these things are necessary. It hurts though when I would hope supervisory personnel, would try to would see as a primary responsibility to see ways that, especially their most the most recovered counselors, staff members, have a chance to do more people stuff. I don't want to chew tears. I don't know how. If I had an easy answer, I'd publish it, get rich. I have no easy answer.